So you have been working for a while, you have defined the perfect product, you actually have gone into the execution phase, you have a product that solves actual, real customer problems, and you have even validated this product with some early potential customers. But then you go and launch your product, and nothing happens. Nobody goes to the App Store to look for it, nobody downloads it, nobody finds it, and basically you don't get to sell your product. Why is this? This is why customer journey is important. Hi, I'm here. Today we are going to talk about why do you need a customer journey? Why is your customer journey important? What do we mean by customer journey? And how should you define it? So customer journey is basically how a potential customer for you actually becomes aware of your products and actually goes all the way to purchase it and even start using it as a normal customer. In the end, the customer journey is a path of discovery for your potential users. How are they going to become aware of what you are selling? So obviously the first thing that you have to have is some kind of product, some kind of service that you are selling to your customers. Once you have this, the first thing that in order to get a customer is that you have to make people aware that you actually have a product. So that's going to be the first phase. Once people are aware of your product, then they are going to think if this is something that I care or I couldn't care less. If it's something that I care, then potentially I might be interested in investing on it. And if I don't care, well, that's just somebody that is not going to be your customer. On the next phase, once they have checked the pros and the cons of your product, they might decide to purchase. So the purchase is going to be the next phase of your customer journey. Once you get your customer to actually purchase your product, then your customer is going to start to interact more with your product. And here there is going to be something like an adoption, where this can be a potentially technical adoption. So how do I integrate this product into whatever workflow I have, or just how do I actually start using this product? And then in most of the cases, for most of the products are going to have some kind of lifespan. And during this lifespan, people are going to expect that they're going to be using it. And if there is some potential problem, they could potentially report these problems and then try to find out solutions for those problems that they are facing when using your product. So now let's go a little deeper into the different phases of the customer journey. First of all, we talk about the discovery phase. How does your customer or your potential customer becomes aware of your solutions? So typically this is what your marketing team is going to do. Let's say, for example, that you have developed a new app, which does whatever it does. If you just throw it in a marketplace, in an app store, there is millions, potentially tens of millions of even more apps out there on the market. How are people going to become aware of your tool? How are they going to understand that there is this new app that actually solves the problems that I have? Well, most likely people are not going to figure that out. So typically here is where you're going to have a marketing team that is going to do some different types of promotion of your solution or your app to the potential customer segments that this app is solving the cases for. Nowadays, of course, marketing has come a long way. App stores, there is a very good ways of making targeted marketing for the customer segments that you think are going to be benefiting from your solution. And this is how you are going to help your potential customers to discover your products. Then there's going to be the discovery phase. This can be done, depends on the situation, in different ways. If you think about more traditional business, this is typically what a sales team is going to do. That a salesperson will contact the potential customer and explain what are the benefits of the tool. Nowadays, many ways of working have changed. Many of the products that you find nowadays, they have some kind of free version or trial version that allows you to start using the tools or the products without actually charging for the usage. This way, you actually help your users to become aware of how your product works, but also understand what is the value that I'm going to get out of it. So this helps, of course, the consideration phase. It helps making sure that this funnel of potential customers, more of the people that actually have become aware of your product, are actually going to consider purchasing your products. So if you think about your potential app product, what you could do is that you could have either a free trial of the product or a freemium version of the product where people could use the product to a certain degree, and then there could be in-app purchases, or it can be like some other products where you basically can do everything like an online shop. You can see everything, you can see how the clothes fit, sizes, prices. In the end, it's just a matter of doing the purchase or not. Next is the purchase phase. So here, obviously, what you want to do is that purchase is as easy as possible. Think, for example, what you have in Kindle, where you can do this one-click buy for new books. What you don't want to have is a very complex purchase process. This can also be something that makes people push back a little bit if the purchase process is complicated. So how do you make sure that purchasing your apps, purchasing your products is going to be easier for the end customer? So if you think nowadays, especially if you think about the example of the app, typically you are just going to go for some kind of e-commerce where it's easy for them to just, once they have the information about their credit card, they can just go purchase directly your app or the services within your app, however is the model that you are using. If you think about licensing, if you think about bigger products, especially physical products and really heavy products, sometimes the process is quite painful. So if you think about sometimes purchasing a car, it can be not something that is done with just one click. It's something where you have to sign papers, where you have to make sure that you read a bunch of documents and actually go and sign through all of them until you make the actual purchase. It's going to take a good half an hour of just going through different papers and signing them and just getting the things done. And then, of course, there's the time that it will take to actually get the car into your possession. So depends on the product that you're selling, the purchasing process is going to be quite different. But in the end, you want to make it as easy as possible for the end user, so there is no barrier for them to get over. So there's no anything that is so annoying that they're going to be like, meh, I'll go for something else, which is easier to buy. This is what typically has been done by sales teams, and nowadays it can be done still by sales teams, but many times it's done through some kind of e-commerce platform. Next phase is the adoption phase. So you have to make sure that people actually are able to start using your products as easy as possible. This is my opinion. Many times people talk about expert tools as an excuse not to have good use of it. As such, you can always try to make things as easy as possible. Of course, in some cases there's going to be lots of configurations, but you want to make it that the bar that people had to go over in order to adopt your products is quite low. So make it easy to understand how to use them. If it is not easy, if it's a long process to use your products, try to make it obvious what are the paths for them to follow. Here you can learn quite well from video games. Different type of online games, they explain very well how to use them. They make it from the very beginning, this tutorial that teaches you how the environment works and where to go through. And it's true that many other tools are repeating or mimicking this behavior. As well, adoption can be not just learning, but it can be also integrating with other services and workflows that you have with other tools. So again, you want to make it as easy as possible to do integrations with other tools and also make those integrations actually work smoothly. It's not that uncommon that we see that whatever tool integrates with GitHub very nicely and then you go and test it, and well, nicely is maybe not exactly the term that I would use for that kind of integration. Depending on your business, of course, again, and depending on the type of app or the type of product that you are selling, this adoption phase is going to be the ownership of different teams. Sometimes it's just going to be some kind of usability team or UX team that helps creating these tutorials or make it very easy to use your tools. And sometimes it's going to be some kind of a training team that helps training users to start using your tools. You can still see this very commonly with tools like SAP, SAP, Salesforce, where you have companies that are actually selling services to do training and implementation and adoption of these more complex tools into your actual ecosystem. And finally, there's the usage part. So here things can be quite different depending on the business where you are. Many of the companies nowadays where they have, in order to actually report problems, report issues, they might have some kind of a tool embedded in their own product where you can just report, for example, a defect or a bug that you have found out. There can be some kind of online community where you can go actually and discuss and explain the problems that you have found on the product. And also you can have support teams and access to people that are experts on the product that can help you answering the questions that you have. So it depends quite a bit on the model, the business model that you are addressing. But in the end, you will have to have somebody that helps your users finding the answers to potential problems that they have, and also continuously training your users. Whenever you have a tutorial, people might learn to start using your tool to a certain degree, but this doesn't mean that makes them expert users. So how can you make users learn to use the features further or the product even further? You can use these things like chatbot, which by the way can be used also for support purposes. You can also use things like tutorials, you can use videos. It's not that uncommon to see companies doing actually YouTube tutorials to explain how to use their products. And actually you can even see people doing reviews and actually tutorials on how to use third-party products that they might have nothing to do with. So there's lots of materials out there, and this is a very common thing that basically you want to make as much as possible everything available for anybody to learn how to use your products and continues using your products. So all the materials, lower always all the barriers and thresholds for your users to actually use your products to their maximum capacity. This typically has been done by some kind of support team, training team, that it's usually looking into how to help existing customers with the current product. So why is it defining your customer journey important? Because this is the way that you're actually going to make sure that people get awareness and discover your product, that people actually consider purchasing your product, that people actually then move on and purchase your product, that people have easy ways of adopting your product, and that they actually can use it to its full potential as much as they can in their own lives. You can think customer journey as a funnel, where people are actually, you come from the broad market to actually the people that are going to end up being your customers and actually start using your products. Customer journey has been sentenced one of these things that it can be a little disconnected from the rest of the operations in the company. So many times there might not be a holistic view on this customer journey. Marketing might be doing their own promotion, support teams can be doing their own ways of supporting the product, sales teams are trying to close deals with different potential customers, but there is not a cohesive strategy of how do we actually make the product available on the market, how do we make people aware of this product and actually get them to purchase and to use your product. So it's good to have a holistic view of what customer journey is and define what is going to be your strategy to drive these potential customers into actual users of your products. So what do you think about this? Do you actually have a properly defined customer journey strategy in your company? Do you actually make sure that whenever you release a big new feature or a new product, you follow up some kind of customer journey or define it? Didn't miss anything when describing the different phases of the customer journey. If you have any thoughts or comments, please comment below and remember to subscribe and like the video if you like this kind of content. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.